So we are just getting into talking about function notation, interpreting function notation, and describing and thinking about what is all this f of x stuff. So again, in a function, we use f of x to describe my function. My function's name is f. In my function, I have input values for x. I put them into my function, and I get back my y values from my function. So inputs, outputs, and we're interpreting and kind of understanding what all the function notation stuff about. So here I've got a table of values. I got a relationship between inputs for my function and my function values for those inputs. So let's think about what we have going on here. In my function, what would f of -1 be? What this is saying is, in my function, if I input -1, what do I get back? Well, if I look on my table, if I input -1, it looks like I get an output value of 7. So in my function, if I input -1, I get back a value of 7. That's my output value. Let's look at another one. If I take my function and I input a value of 6, what do I get back? According to my table, if I input 6, that's my x value, because it's in the place of the x, I get output value of -11. All right, so we're reading input values, finding out output values. What if I flip it a little bit now? What x value causes f of x to equal 9? Now this is a little bit different because I know my output value is 9, but I don't know what the input value of x is. So over here, I'm going to look over under my f of x. Here's where f of x is 9, and it looks like if I input a value of -3, that's what's going to give me an output value v. So x equals -3. That's what I get an output, and if I take my function f of -3, that's what gives me an output value of 9. Let's do one more. What x value causes f of x to have an output of -4? All right, let's find -4 under our output values, f of x, right there. So it looks like I input +4 to get an output of -4. So when x is +4, I get an output of -4. So f of 4 causes an output of -4. All right, just as a prelude to what we're going to do next, notice this function notation right here. Just for kicks, let's think about what that point would be on a graph. I want to plot a point. Well, if I have x and y values, that's the same thing as saying this point. When x is -3, I get a y value of 9. And that would be a point that I could plot on my function. On this one, if x is 4, I get a y value of -4, and that would also be a point on my function. So you can read it as function notation, and we can always go back to points on a coordinate plane, x and y values, coordinate points. Both of them give you the same information. Table, function notation, point. All right, good stuff.